As Donald Trump continues to melt down, he goes on his social media platform with those tiny little keyboard warrior fingers of himself. And here's what he's been posting this morning as he sees more and more polls showing not only that he's going to lose the election, but it may in fact be a blowout. Here's what Donald Trump is posting. Donald Trump posts a photo of Vice President Kamala Harris and her mother's side of her family. And in a very creepy and racist and xenophobic post, Donald Trump writes, "Thank you, Kamala, for the nice picture you sent from many years ago. Your warmth, friendship, and love of your Indian heritage are very much appreciated." By the way, I just wonder what J.D. Vance's wife is thinking about all this. She has Indian heritage. J.D. Vance's children are biracial, yet J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are mocking biracial people or being racist and xenophobic and making posts like this. By the way, I'll just show you this photo so you can see it. Here's what we did at the MeidasTouch Network. Kamala Harris is now pictured here with both sides of her family. She truly is the epitome of the American dream. This is what America is all about, and it is truly inspiring. We also created this helpful graphic for Donald Trump. Vice President Kamala Harris has an Indian mother, Jamaican father. Take a look at the Venn diagram. Vice President Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is a rapist, and he's a fraudster. And the Venn diagram shows where they meet. That is Donald Trump. At Donald Trump's Harrisburg, Pennsylvania event, he would post the following on the screen that was there. California's Kamala Harris becomes the first Indian American U.S. Senator. And that's because there are African American and Black senators. So they were reflecting on the fact that she is biracial. Do I really have to explain this to these MAGA Republicans? Then Donald Trump posts the following. And just think about this. This is the leader of the Republican Party, and this is what he's spending his time doing. He writes the following about Norah O'Donnell. He goes, "So sad that Norah O'Donnell of CBS News lost her show. They had Norah at a, quote, steal at $12 million a year. Will she be doing Deface the Nation anymore, where she was so wonderful? Was she better than the late, great Walter Cronkite, also of CBS News? This is the only question left." And so misogynistic and also showing Donald Trump's cognitive decline here as well. And just, what are you even doing? First off, Norah O'Donnell was on the evening news of CBS. She did not host Face the Nation, which Donald Trump thinks he's clever by calling Deface the Nation. Actually, the host of Face the Nation is Margaret Brennan. So Donald Trump is attacking multiple women in this post and just showing, like, what's even the post of this? Just to show how misogynistic he is. And by the way, Norah O'Donnell is stepping into a senior correspondent role after the election, where she's focused on long-form pieces instead of the evening news, which is a great role to have and a role that she announced. And so what's the point of this? And why are you even writing this? Donald Trump also then posts a poster of himself with the finger move that he gives when he says "you're fired," and he reposted "amazing art." Again, what are you doing here? And then Donald Trump says, "Trump endorsements in Arizona, 10 of 10, MAGA 2024. And by the way, it's just so pathetic what Trump does with his endorsements too. So he waits until the very end now when he gives endorsements. And then what he did in Arizona and lots of other states now, he endorses both people who are Republicans, as long as they kiss the ring and they pledge obedience to him. He endorses all of the candidates. So he could declare a winner no matter who wins or who loses. Speaking of Donald Trump's post, you remember when he wrote the following: "Evan Gershkovich, the reporter from the Wall Street Journal who is being held by Russia, will be released almost immediately after the election, but definitely not before I assume office. He will be home, safe, and with his family. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, will do that for me, but not for anyone else. And we will be paying nothing. As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, wrote, Putin will do that for me, but not for anybody else. Well, now, of course, we learned that the Wall Street Journal reporter, Evan Gershkovich, as well as the ex-U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, have both been released as part of a prison swap that was directly negotiated by President Biden. Take a look at this detail, though, of President Biden's attention to detail and focus of the negotiation. President Biden, about an hour before he notified the world he was dropping out of the presidential race on July 21st, called the Prime Minister of Slovenia, whose country was contributing 2 convicted Russian spies to the swap to secure the pardon necessary for the deal to proceed. CIA Director William Burns traveled to Turkey last week to meet his counterpart there and finalize logistics of the swap. So while all of corporate media was doing what they were doing to President Biden, he was there working in a very micro-targeted way to ensure that Gershkovich and Whelan would return by recognizing the complexities of the prisoner swap with Russians detained in Slovenia and negotiating this multi-pronged prisoner swap to get Whelan and Gershkovich back. You may remember this post as well that we had discussed on the MeidasTouch network, and this was from let me pull it up right here. Trevor Dowdy Reed, who this is from U.S. Marine Trevor Reed last May, when Trump claimed that Putin would only release Whelan and Gershkovich to him as president. And Trevor Dowdy Reed was previously a prisoner in Russia as well. He goes, as a former wrongful detainee in Russia, I would just like to remind everyone that Trump had the ability to get myself and Paul Whelan out of Russia for years and chose not to. I would be skeptical of any claims about getting Evan Gershkovich back in a day. He wrote that on May 23rd, 2024, before Biden did the deal. And what Trevor Dowdy Reed was pointing out was look, Trump had the opportunity to do this when he was off. We know his record because he didn't do it in office. What was Trump doing? He was playing golf for a year and trying to kiss Putin's ass. And he was not engaged in any of these types of detailed negotiations. And now Trump will promise anything to anybody because how desperate he is. This was a prior video that Donald Trump made about Gershkovich. And again, why didn't you get it done when you were in office? Gershkovich was imprisoned wrongfully when you were in office. Here, play this clip.
Evan Gershkovich, the reporter for the Wall Street Journal who is being held by Russia, will be released almost immediately after the election, but definitely before I assume office. He will be home. He will be safe. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, will do that for me, and I don't believe he'll do it for anyone else, and we will be paying nothing. Biden likes to pay massive numbers. We will be paying nothing. Thank you very much.
And then Donald Trump has his surrogates like Doug Burgum from the governor of North Dakota. And so he goes on TV and he's like, well, the reason Putin did this is because of Trump. And Putin didn't want to have to deal with Trump Burgum goes, when Trump wins. So that's why Putin did it now, because he was scared of Trump. These people are so pathetic. Here, play this clip.
On a larger scale, again, the Biden administration is clear. The reason why Russia wanted to do this deal now is that they think that President Trump's going to win, and they don't want to deal with him.
And by the way, it reminds me of when Donald Trump always says, like, the reason that the stock market is hitting record highs now is because of me. You see the post where he writes that. He wrote that recently, and he writes that over and over again. The stock market's hitting records because of Trump right now. No, it's not. And remember when Trump said that the stock market was going to crash if President Biden were to win. Remember, that was Trump's line in 2020. Let me show you that.
They said the stock market will boom if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
So now that didn't happen, Trump goes, the reason the stock market's doing good, obviously, is because of me. Look, this is a sociopathic, deranged, weird person. And I don't just do that as name calling. I mean, you see it for yourself, that behavior. And the fact that he's out there making posts like that about Vice President Kamala Harris just goes to show you. By the way, you know what he posted as well about Vice President Kamala Harris? This is what his surrogate, Laura Loomer, wrote. And she writes some of the most like heinous racist posts that I've seen. And she goes, Kamala Harris isn't black. And then she puts these two articles together. And look what Donald Trump does. He reposts the thing. He removes where Laura Loomer says Kamala Harris isn't black, because that's Donald Trump thinks he's being clever. But he sends the message to his base. This is who they are. Let's not go back to this. It's so important that we look to the future. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million together. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.